This is a week since the epiphany, a week since I've figured out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And I haven't quite distilled all my thoughts and my plan and my strategy. And if you're new to Bitcoin, it might not make a lot of sense to you, but hopefully through our work and when I show you what it's doing on the ground in third world countries, war-torn, those living under communism and other really just not ideal conditions, when I show you what we're going to do and how the impact is going to help people in a day-to-day basis in their daily lives, I think you'll start to get it. And you'll start seeing Bitcoin for what it can do. And not just Bitcoin, but the importance of having sound money and the dangers of printing and fiat and really everything. We're going to bring financial sovereignty to the world, and we're going to do it from a bottom-up approach rather than from a top-down approach, which is how most charity is done. I don't even like calling it charity. I don't like the idea that you have to keep giving something because they can't take care of themselves. It's kind of an elitist, derogatory idea. And we have to do it because we got to do everything we can. And a lot of the reason we even have to have charity this way is because of the jurisdictions where these things happen. The populace is controlled by those at the top. So for us to even get into these places and kind of solve some of the fundamental problems, we'd have to kind of solve the government problems and the tyrant and the war and the conflict problems. And obviously no organization is going to be able to do that. That's why Bitcoin, I think, is like this Trojan horse. People don't quite understand what it can do for humanity. And it's why now that every day I talk about it, think about it, dream about it, I get a bit more excited about what it can do for the world. I knew that I had to do something. And I came to this realization 4 days ago. I'm going to give you a really quick rundown. I'm going to tell you that if you get on the email list, you're going to get announcements. I'm going to be coming out with more videos, topics, ideas. I'm going to do a vlog documenting this entire thing. We're going to spend a lot of time getting the media out there, getting the word out there, explaining all these ideas, how they fit together, why you should care, what you can do to help, and how I think I can help you see that this may end up becoming some of the most important work in the world. I won't be the only one doing it, but if I can help others do it, if I can show them maybe a model that can maybe work, why it works, why it can have what I think will probably be the most profound effect on humanity the world has ever seen. That's what sound money does. And so just do me a favor, get on the newsletter, betterhuman.world. If you're watching this video, it might be down below wherever you're at. And we're going to bring financial sovereignty to the masses. We're going to help get Bitcoin to people in third world countries. We'll help get them apps on their phone and get them phones and devices if they don't have phones so that they can enter the global economy, enter the amazing technological revolution that has brought so much prosperity to so many that us in the West enjoy without even thinking about it. Yet those that they call are unbanked, or they're in war-torn areas, or they're in Afghanistan or Cuba during revolutions, and they are basically enslaved by those at the top. Bitcoin doesn't care about any of that. When you join the Bitcoin network and you can transact freely, nobody can stop you, nobody can censor you. And if you do it right, nobody even knows you're doing it. It is the ultimate form of protection of your financial energy, and if done properly, can be done without dudes with guns or tyrannical governments even knowing. And what that does is it does a lot of things. It does way more things than I can even talk about here. But the two things it does is it first protects individuals in areas where through force of violence, their government or guys with guns driving around in jeeps, terrorizing people, can take any wealth that they can accumulate. That's an ever-present threat. Bitcoin solves that. Or if a monopoly like Western Union shuts down its services to Afghanistan, which actually just recently happened as I record this video, millions of Afghanis and the Afghanistan economy as a whole that relied on remittance payments from relatives in other countries, a lot of which are in the US or wherever, where they're earning money and they're sending it back to people over there so that they can survive. But Western Union shuts down because they want to cozy up to the Biden administration. And who always gets hurt the most? The citizens. Not the people that are gobbling up power and using guns to get whatever they want. They're not going to hurt. They don't care if Western Union decides to not offer services to millions of people in their country. That's one way Bitcoin helps. It can literally mean the difference between sending financial energy, money, to a relative in another country so that they can eat, so that they can afford electricity, clean water. Then the other problem is every single dollar that we pump into the system that the US Fed keeps printing, that makes the elite in America richer and asset owners richer, makes those poor farmers and others living in third world countries that hold dollars, it makes them poorer. modern day, non-voluntary joining of this destructive thing. Would you call it slavery? Would you call it indentured servitude? Now they have to work harder for less as the dollars depreciate in value and the earning power comes down as more are flooded into the system. That's the other problem it solves. If we can show humans around the world a monetary tool, an amazing technology that is not privy to some government inflating it away because they keep printing so much of it. And this includes the US dollar, but this also includes every other currency on the planet, which are fiat currencies. And in a place like Africa, Lebanon, Cuba, Venezuela, you have hyperinflation. And as always, those that get hurt the most are the poor and the lower classes that are now earning less, and the value that they did have is worth less. This is unacceptable. Bringing Bitcoin to the world from a bottom-up approach, we give them access to the hardest money ever created that there is, Bitcoin, and we show them how to save it. If they need to spend it, but really treat it as your emergency fund, as your bank, the bank that you control, and then that thing will appreciate in value as more adoption comes online, rather than holding fiat currencies which depreciate in value, which put an ever-present pressure onto the standard of living, onto the ability to even get clean drinking water or food. Bitcoin solves that. And finally, the thing that it does the most is it gives every participant in the Bitcoin network a way to receive funds. Sending is important, but receiving is something people don't realize. If you have no ability to receive funds, you can't go to a Western company or individual or create some app or product or whatever and get paid for it. Think about that a second. How you and I take for granted the fact that we can work for somebody, get a job, I can write for people, I can edit videos. I have all these skills that I could easily monetize in the market. There are people with better skills than me, or potentially could have better skills than me, that could do all the work that remote knowledge work entails. Writing, editing, video, audio, production, editing, graphic design, like literally the sky's the limit. But if they can't get access to receiving money for their services, they can't participate in the world economy. And that is one more thing, one more door that is shut to these people from rising themselves and their families out of dire straits, potentially life-threatening living. And this is why a top-down approach of charity comes in and says, we're going to give you things and it's going to help a little bit or whatever. And that's great. We got to keep doing that. But it doesn't solve the root cause. The root cause of somebody in a country where the currency is hyperinflating and there's capital controls and there's probably border controls, and basically the people are used as cattle and they're monetized by the elite. And they do that by keeping pressure down and manipulating currency, manipulating things going in and out, etc. Those people at the bottom, if they can be empowered to earn a living the way we define it, like actually earn a living by themselves, using their own skills, their own creative energy, toil, sweat, blood, tears, the way all of us do, some more so than others. I mean, some are more entrepreneurial, some are not, some just get a job, but it's all through our own effort, generally, that we go out into the world and we say, I'm going to get a job or I'm going to do this or whatever, and we take care of ourselves because we have access to it. When we give the estimated 2 to 3 billion unbanked around the world access to the global economy, just think about that. We're talking about actually changing the world and increasing the standard of living from the bottom up rather than top down, because top down will always be privy to corruption and government control. Always. Never before in the history of mankind have we been able to have a bottom-up approach because we didn't have Bitcoin. The simple ability to receive payments and then do work for companies and individuals that you can be paid for, I believe will change the world. We already see how it is changing the world. Remote work, gig economy, things like this, they already changed the world. They're changing the West, right? But again, they're not changing the areas that need it the most, that could benefit the most because of the top-down control structures. So if we get Bitcoin to the people, that gives them more sovereignty and freedom, maybe even the ability to leave these oppressive jurisdictions because they have the money to afford to do so. That bottom-up approach will start putting pressure on those above. And those above will start losing power, and they will have to adjust, and they will have to write better policies for their citizens. They will have to maybe manage their money better. Maybe their currency will collapse, and that will take away all their power. The bottom-up approach is how we change the world. That's what we're trying to do at the Better Human Company. And we're going to use Bitcoin. We're going to use education, knowledge, donated courses and curriculums and videos and talks, guides, the basics of physics, of math, these things that you and I can get on YouTube easily and for free. We're going to bring those to these devices and we're going to upload them to people. We're going to give this to people. We're going to give people a way to engage in the global economy through Bitcoin, have access to the strongest money and the strongest savings technology ever created, ever found. And that is going to then empower people, and the rest will take care of itself, as it always has. The free market, if the free market is there to do its thing, will bring prosperity and abundance to all. But it's only going to come from a bottom-up approach. That's why I see Bitcoin and impact-driven work revolutionizing not only the things we talked about and a bottom-up approach, etc., but revolutionizing charity and giving people like you and I that have so much luxury, we just get too much shit, giving access to that, to the world, to people, to starving women and children, and like, we have this revolution that I don't, like, a percent of the world can even fathom. And most of what you see in the crypto and the Bitcoin, the trading and all the hype is crap you see. It's about making money, number go up. But I've known deep down inside when I came to Bitcoin and I really had that epiphany, the Bitcoin epiphany I call it, where I knew what it could do for humanity. And that's been mulling around in my subconscious for a couple years now. And I finally came to this realization. It was just pure raw emotion because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. I got a lot of work to do. I'm going to need volunteers. I'm going to need ambassadors. I'm going to need people that want to go into these areas, that want to take those risks. I'm going to need investors. I do have a plan to combine capitalism with impact work. I don't want to be a nonprofit. I think there's too many restrictions there. I want to be able to provide products and services while also the feel good and the impact that people want. They just don't know how to get it, and combine that with products they use anyways and create this perfect synergy. I think a lot of companies have tried this, but I don't think anyone's really nailed it. And maybe that's because we need more of a bottom-up approach. And maybe this is the thing that can do that. So, ton of work to do. Any help, any connections, any shows to go on, any podcasts, anybody you can refer me to, any person you can share this video with. I'm a person that I haven't liked asking for things. So I usually just give. But now and through this, I feel comfortable doing that. I can ask. I just know that, like, it's the best thing I could ask for. So I have no personal guilt or shame around it because this is so freaking important. Send me an email if you have any of those things. You want to help in any way. Whatever. Is my name Colin@gmail.com. That's my personal email. Send me an email. Then get on the newsletter over at betterhuman.world. That's where we're going to have updates coming. And then that's where we're going to really get into all the things that are going to happen and the products that we're going to launch and the podcasts and the channels and the different people that are going to come in. Help me. Let's change the world from the bottom up. Thanks for watching.